Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiada. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari salutes Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila at 60. FAC shares 680.783 billion naira May revenue with federal government, states and local government areas. Plus, U.S. Supreme Court ends constitutional right to abortion. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in our news tonight, President Muhammad Buhari has joined members and leaders of the APC in felicitating the Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila on his 60th birthday. In a congratulatory message by his spokesman Femi Adesina in Abuja, the president sent greetings to the family, friends and associates of the political leader, whom he described as patriotic, honest and deserving of respect. In the message, the president observed that the speaker passionately defended the party and issues he believed in at the House of Representatives. President Buhari expressed his satisfaction with the performance of the speaker and the Senate President Ahmed Lawan. Meanwhile, President Buhari has reiterated that he has no plan to extend his tenure. He said this during a meeting with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on the sideline of the ongoing 26th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Kigali, Rwanda. The president also ruled out bail for the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. According to President Buhari, the detained separatist has every opportunity under the law to justify all the uncomplimentary things he had been saying against Nigeria while in Britain. Away from that, the federal government has said it is committed to the provision of housing to all segments of Nigerians. The Chief Executive, Federal Housing Authority and Chairman, Board of Directors of the Mortgage Bank, Benga Ashafa, stated this during the unveiling of Express View Estate, a partnership between Federal Housing Authority, Mortgage Bank and Nixta Africa in Lube, Abuja. While applauding the efforts of President Buhari's government on tackling housing deficit, Ashafa said the administration was working to ensure a reduction in the increase of house deficit in the country. In another development, Federation Account Allocation Committee has shared 680.78 billion naira from the May 2022 Federation Account revenue to federal government, states and local government councils. This is contained in a communique at the end of the FAC meeting for June 2022 in Abuja. The total distributable revenue included distributable statutory revenue of 385.85 billion naira, also making up the total figure, where the distributable value added tax revenue of 198.5 billion naira and electronic money transfer levy revenue of 97.26 billion naira. Meanwhile, the federal government has disbursed the entire $322.5 million Abuja loot of 2017 to 1.9 million poor and vulnerable Nigerians. Executive Director of ANAGE and independent monitor providing independent report on the use of the funds, David Ugola, made this known in Abuja. Ugola noted that before making the disbursement, the money had accrued an interest of $11 million where it was deposited. He added that no politically motivated data was used in selecting the beneficiaries, but that the National Social Register was used to determine those who will benefit Elsewhere, 70,000 ghost workers have been eliminated from the federal government payroll through the Integration Personnel and Payroll Information System (IPIS). According to the Director General Bureau of Public Service Reforms, Dasuki Arabi, the government has been able to save 220 billion Naira with their removal from the salary list. Arabi stated this while giving an update on the activities of the Bureau to reporters at the weekly ministerial briefing organized by the Presidential Communication Team in Abuja. He noted that the government had saved 10 trillion Naira following the introduction of the single treasury account 10 years ago. On judicial matters, Supreme Court has dismissed a suit brought against the National Assembly challenging the legality of the controversial Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022. The Apex Court held that President Muhammad Buhari, having assented to the electoral bill on February 25, had no power to turn around to challenge the legality of the Electoral Act. In a judgment prepared and delivered by Justice Emmanuel Ajim, the action of Buhari in instituting the case was declared as a gross abuse of court. The Apex Court said the president by the suit sought to approbate and reprobate at the same time, and that such should not be allowed. The court also held that President Buhari had no power under any law to dictate to the National Assembly on lawmaking. Still from the judiciary, the Court of Appeal, Ibadan Division, has reserved judgment in the appeal filed by the federal government against the 20.5 billion Naira damages awarded in favor of Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Igboho, against the Department of State Services. Igboho's counsel Yomi Aliyu told journalists after a court session that the case had been adjourned for judgment and that the court will communicate the exact date for the judgment to the parties in the suit. Recall that an Oyo State High Court, presided over by Justice Labiron Akintola, had on September 17, 2021, awarded 20 billion Naira damages against the DSS for invasion of Igboho's residence at the Soka area of Ibadan on July 1, 2021. Igboho reportedly escaped death in the invasion by the secret police, which led to the killing of 2 persons and the destruction of his property. In the meantime, no fewer than 4 erring personnel of the Nigerian army involved in the ongoing fight against insurgency in the northeast have been recommended for dismissal by a general and special court-martial set up by the military. Confirming this, the theater commander, Operation Hadin Kai, Major General Christopher Musa, that 30 others were also recommended to be imprisoned. Musa said a total of 227 soldiers were brought before the court. He added that the General and Special Court Martial also recommended 25 personnel for demotion, 20 for loss of pay, and 17 others to face severe reprimand. Musa also said 10 soldiers were discharged and acquitted, 14 cases struck off, and 107 recommended for summary trial. To legislative matters now, where a motion seeking the intervention of the House of Representatives in the conflict between the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Mohammed, and justices of the Supreme Court over issues bordering on welfare and working conditions has suffered a setback. While the House called for a general review of salaries and allowances of all political office holders and public servants, the members were divided over which committees should handle the task. The chairman of the House Committee on Judiciary, Onofiak Luke, had moved a motion to seek the intervention of the chamber in the crisis rocking the Apex Court and better welfare package for judicial officers across the courts. Luke prayed the House to urge the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission to upwardly review the remuneration of judicial officers in line with present economic realities. Still on the legislature, the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee probing the state of refineries has queried $50 million contract awarded to Matriculation Nigeria Limited by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company (NNPC) for integrity test of the country's refineries. Chairman of the House Ad Hoc Committee, Ganiyu Johnson, issued the query in Abuja following the appearance of the managing director of the company at a hearing. Recall that the Ad Hoc Committee had on June 4, 2022, summoned the managing director of Technemont Nigeria Limited, a major contractor of the NNPC, over the state of the nation's refineries. The Ganiyu Johnson-led committee also directed that Mary McNimmort Nigeria Limited provide proof of payment of the sum paid by the NNPC for the rehabilitation of the nation's refineries. Meanwhile, the executive vice chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC), Umar Dambata, has stated that industry collaboration is essential to successful deployment of 5G services in Nigeria. Dambata spoke in Lagos, urging industry stakeholders to stand with the Commission to explore the prospects and potentials of the new technology, which he said were enormous. He was speaking at the 90th edition of the Telecom Consumer Parliament hosted by the Consumer Affairs Bureau of the Commission. He said the policy framework for the deployment of 5G had come into place and would facilitate deployment of services by the recent winners of the 3.5 GHz spectrum auction. In a related development, the International Air Transport Association has urged the Nigerian government and the governments of other countries to work closely with the aviation industry to ensure that aviation and incumbent safety systems can safely coexist with new 5G services. The organization spoke against the backdrop of flight disruptions caused by the recent deployment of 5G services by telecommunication companies in the United States and plans by Nigeria and other countries to deploy 5G services in the coming months. He recognized the economic importance of making spectrum available to support next-generation commercial wireless telecommunications, but posited that maintaining current levels of safety of passengers, flight crews and aircraft should continue to be one of government's highest priorities. Away from that, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) has clarified report that it recovered 170 million naira cash from G-Wagon from the residence of Nigerian ambassador to Benin Republic, Lieutenant General Tukoro Buratai. Reports say the ICPC recovered 1.85 billion naira from a house and office said to belong to Buratai in Abuja. The sum said to have been recovered was allegedly part of the billions of naira earmarked for the purchase of arms and ammunition by the President Muhammad Buhari-led government. However, the spokesperson of the commission, Azuka Ogugwa, denied that the house belonged to Buratai. According to Ogugwa, facts available indicates that the property is owned by a military contractor and owner of K Salam Construction Company. In education, the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU says the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, has not invited the union for a meeting. It could be recalled that after yesterday's Federal Executive Council meeting, Ngige had said he would be meeting with the union to continue discussions about the strike. However, ASU President Emmanuel Sodike said the union was not informed about any meeting with the government. ASU, which embarked on the latest round of strikes since February 14, cited the government's non-implementation of agreements reached with the union as reason. Still in education, the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, has spent 185 billion naira in training 35,000 Nigerian scholars in public tertiary institutions. This was done through the fund's Scholarship for Academic Staff program, which commenced in 2008. Acting Director of Academic Staff Training and Development at TET Fund, Abdullahi Imam, stated this when representatives of the TET Fund Scholars Alumni Steering Committee visited the Executive Secretary of TED Fund, Sunny Achono, in Abuja. The director explained that the project was established with the sole aim of training and upscaling the educational capacity of the academic staff of beneficiary institutions. He added that the project was the second in expenditure after infrastructure projects of TED Fund. Meanwhile, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board is set to hold the 2022 policy meeting for the 2022-2023 admission on July 21. The board spokesperson Fabian Benjamin, who confirmed this, said the policy meeting will be chaired by the Minister of Education Adamu, with all heads of tertiary institutions in attendance. He said the meeting will chart policy directions for the nation's tertiary institutions, set admission guidelines, and make a holistic review of application statistics, performance, as well as evaluate admission exercise. Ahead of the 2023 general election, hundreds of members of the All Progressives Congress, the People's Democratic Party, and the All Progressive Grand Alliance in Umuahia East constituency of Abia State have joined the Labour Party. The party men claimed the economic and infrastructure deficits in Umuahia East State constituency, occasioned by poor representation of the constituency by those entrusted with people's mandate at the local government and state levels, were responsible for their move. The defectors, who spoke through their leaders Chidi Ibelebu, John Obioma, and Michael Nwachiku in Umuahia, vowed to deliver for the Labour Party at all levels of political leadership in the state with their permanent voter cards in the 2023 general election. Elsewhere, at least 20 persons have been kidnapped in a community within Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, following an attack by gunmen. Confirming the assault, police authorities in the FCT said it took place within Rwanda Daji, a boundary community between Niger State and the FCT. Acting FCT police spokesman Oduniyi Omotayo, who confirmed the incident to newsmen, said the gunmen attacked the community at the time farmers were cultivating their farmland. Back here, the Akwa Ibom State Governor Damilola has appealed to the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, to increase its intervention funding and projects to tertiary institutions in the country. Governor made the appeal when the accreditation team of the National Board for Technical Education (NBTE), led by the Director of Polytechnic Programs Ngede Ogo, visited him in Uyo. The governor maintained that fees paid by students in public tertiary institutions was not enough to maintain the institutions. Governor Emmanuel, who said the state government will from next month increase subventions to the state university, however, called for more interventions to bridge the funding gap and enhance the standard of education in the country. Still in Akwa Ibom, the state PDP gubernatorial flag bearer Omoeno has tasked Akwa Ibom people to cultivate the lifestyle of loving each other. It lacks supportive spirit, love, and support for its people. The governorship hopeful, who made the call while interacting with newsmen, was responding to a question which bordered on what can be done to change the narrative in Akwa Ibom. Still to come in the news. Federal government canvasses support for locally made leather products. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. To Africa now, where Rwandan President Paul Kagame and BioNTech's CEO Ugo Sahin have launched the construction of a messenger RNA vaccine factory in Kigali. It is Africa's first of 3 planned projects on the continent and aims to produce treatments against COVID-19 and other diseases by early 2024. Kagame, who called the project groundbreaking, said his country had worked to attract biopharmaceutical researchers in the manufacturing sector.
BioNTech is researching and developing vaccines and medicines to prevent malaria, tuberculosis, and HIV. These diseases are major causes of mortality on the African continent. We have partnered with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to develop tuberculosis and HIV vaccines, and we are developing malaria vaccines.
Rwanda fully supports BioNTech's commitment to power this factory entirely with green energy, and we will work together closely.
Still in Africa, Somalia's new president Hassan Mohammed is isolating after testing positive for COVID-19 shortly after returning from a trip to the United Arab Emirates. Reports say the 66-year-old president returned today from the United Arab Emirates, where he had made his first official trip abroad since his election on May 15. Mohammed is a former academic and peace activist who was previously president from 2012 to 2017 and whose first administration was dogged by claims of corruption and infighting. On the foreign scene, foreign agriculture and development ministers from around the world are gathering in Berlin for a conference on food security. This comes amid concerns that the Ukraine conflict could cause hunger in some countries. Representatives from 40 countries, including the hardest hit nations like Nigeria, Tunisia, and Indonesia, will attend the meeting under the title Uniting for Global Food Security, ahead of a G7 leaders summit in Bavaria starting on Sunday. Reports say as a result of Russia's invasion of top agricultural exporter Ukraine, grain deliveries across the Black Sea have been stalled by minefields and a Russian military blockade of Ukrainian ports. Meanwhile, the United Nations has warned that it is currently affecting poorer African countries the most because of their heavy dependence on Russian and Ukrainian wheat. Still on the foreign scene, Ukrainian forces have been ordered to withdraw from Severodonetsk. This is according to the provincial governor Serhiy Gaidai. The eastern city has reportedly endured weeks of bombardment as Russian forces try to take complete control of the region. The Ukrainian retreat would be significant because it would leave all of Luhansk under Russian control, except for the city of Lysychansk. Luhansk, a mainly Russian-speaking region in East Ukraine, is a key priority for Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Still on the crisis in Ukraine, Russia's foreign ministry is blaming the United States for a Lithuanian ban on sanctioned goods crossing from the Russian mainland to the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad. The development has reportedly increased already high tensions between Russia and the West. In a statement published today, the Russian Foreign Ministry said the ban on rail transit of a wide range of goods through the Kaliningrad region was imposed with the explicit instruction of the White House. According to the ministry, the move was part of a pattern of increasingly hostile actions from the American side toward Russia. In a separate development, U.S. Supreme Court has ended the right to abortion in a seismic ruling that shreds half a century of constitutional protections on what is considered one of the most divisive and bitterly fought issues in American political life. The conservative-dominated court overturned the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that enshrined a woman's right to an abortion. It said individual states can now permit or restrict the procedure themselves. Reports say the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion, that Roe and Casey were overruled, and that the authority to regulate abortion has returned to the people and their elected representatives. Away from that, U.S. Senate has passed a gun control bill, making the most significant firearms legislation in nearly 30 years. 15 Republicans joined Democrats in the upper chamber of Congress to approve the measure by 65 votes to 33. It follows mass shootings last month at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, that left a combined 31 people dead. The bill will now have to pass in the House of Representatives before President Joe Biden can sign it into law. Reports say this could happen within days. Moving on now to Britain, where the Tories and Prime Minister Boris Johnson have been dealt a double blow as the Lib Dems and Labour win 2 by-elections. The Lib Dems stormed to victory in Tiverton and Honiton, Devon, overturning a 24,000 Tory majority with a 30% swing. The new Member of Parliament there, Richard Ford, said the result had sent a shockwave through British politics. Labour won the Wakefield by-election in West Yorkshire, having lost the seat to the Conservatives at the 2019 general election. In a related development, the UK Conservative Party chairman Oliver Dowden has announced on Twitter that he had resigned with immediate effect after the ruling party lost 2 by-elections. In a resignation letter to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, Dowden said yesterday's parliamentary by-elections were the latest in a run of very poor results for the party. He observed that the party's supporters were distressed and disappointed by recent events and that he shared their feelings. Dowden said someone needed to take responsibility and it would not be right for him to remain in office. Still on the foreign scene, the United Nations says its findings show that the shot that killed Al Jazeera TV journalist Shirin Abu Akleh on May 11 was fired by Israeli forces. This was made available by the UN Human Rights Office spokeswoman Ravina Shamdasani to reporters in Geneva. Recall that the Palestinian-American journalist, who was wearing a vest marked press and a helmet, was killed while covering an Israeli army operation in Jenin camp in the northern West Bank. Now in business, federal government has canvassed support for locally made leather products. Speaking at the 5th Lagos Leather Fair, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Adeniyi Adebayo said patronizing made in Nigeria products will boost the nation's economy globally. According to Adebayo, the fair over the past years has created a solid platform where everyone within the leather ecosystem can meet up and hold conversations on how to move the industry forward. Still on our business news, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has accused the federal government of doing nothing to stop products depots operators from selling fuel to its members above the official template of 145 Naira per litre. IPMAN therefore called on the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) to intervene, noting that the operators were profiteering from the scarcity of fuel in parts of the country. The association also listed high freight costs, especially outside the coastal areas, as one of the major challenges facing its members. On to forex inflow. CBN has said the economy recorded lower net foreign exchange inflow in January this year, driven mainly by net flows from the Central Bank of Nigeria and autonomous sources over the implementation of Treasury single account. According to the CBN, the aggregate foreign exchange inflow into the economy declined by 36.7% to $4.36 billion in January 2022 from $6.89 billion in December 2021. It added that the total foreign exchange outflow dropped to $3.41 billion from $3.59 billion in the preceding period. Still to come in the news. Falcons coach Waldrum names 25 women's squad for WAFCON. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the federal government has sealed 358 pharmacies and patent medicine shops in the Federal Capital Territory in 4 days. Registrar of the Pharmaceutical Council of Nigeria, Ibrahim Ahmed, who made this known in Abuja while addressing journalists, said 4 patent medicine vendors had been arrested and were being prosecuted. He said since 2018 till date, its national enforcement team had visited more than 30,000 pharmaceutical premises and sealed more than 20,000 across the country. Still in health, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies has received $350,000 from Coca-Cola Foundation to accelerate vaccination for Nigerians against COVID-19. The coordinator, communications and advocacy of the society, Chima Nwankwo, disclosed this in a statement in Abuja. Reports say the grant awarded through the Stop the Spread Fund administered by the foundation will focus on increasing vaccine uptake and logistic support in key states where there has been established vaccine hesitancy in Nigeria. Now in sports, Super Falcons head coach Randy Waldrum has named his 25-woman squad for the 2022 African Women Cup of Nations billed for Morocco. Waldrum, who will be in the technical area for the first time in the tournament, selected Falcons captain Onome Ebi with a mix of experienced legs such as Tochukwu Oluehi, Rita Chikwelu, Osinachi Ohale and Francisca Odega. Defenders Ashley Plumpter, Nicole Payne and Michelle Alozie are among the debutants at the Continental Showpiece. Meanwhile, goalkeeper Rita Akareko, defenders Chidima Okeke, Ngozi Emenayo and Opeyemi Sunday, midfielders Suliat Abidin, Amanda Mbadi and Charity Adule, and forward Anam Imo were all at the camp in Abuja. Still in sports, Nigeria's Flamingos have been paired alongside Germany in Group B of the 2022 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. The draw was held today with Chile and New Zealand completing the group for coach Bankole Olowokere's side. Nigerian girls had a brilliant run in the qualification series for the competition. They overcame Egypt, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Ethiopia en route to the tournament. They scored 15 goals and conceded none in the process, with Opeyemi Ajakaye striking 6 times as Nigeria sealed a ticket to India. More from sports, Spanish La Liga giants Barcelona have taken out time to celebrate one of their greatest ex-players, Lionel Messi, as he turns 35 today. The Catalan club took to their official Twitter page to post a video of the Argentine captain in action for the Blaugrana. Meanwhile, Messi currently plays for French League One champions Paris Saint-Germain. The 7-time Ballon d'Or winner left his boyhood club Barcelona on a free transfer last summer to PSG. Paris Saint-Germain forward Lionel Messi has beaten Manchester United star Cristiano Ronaldo to set a new record following his move to the Parisians last summer. Messi's high-profile summer transfer from Barcelona to PSG a year ago has shattered the record of player shirt sales, meaning that Ronaldo and Manchester United no longer hold that record. PSG sold over 1 million shirts for the first time last season, with Mercy 30 accounting for over 60% of that figure, which is the record for any football player. More in sports, former Manchester United and England star Wayne Rooney has resigned as manager of troubled Derby as the club prepare for their first season in the third tier for 36 years. Rooney was unable to keep Derby in the championship last season after the crisis-torn club were hit by a 21-point deduction as punishment for financial issues. In his first managerial role, Rooney impressively kept Derby in contention to avoid relegation into the final weeks of the season. Still in sports, 2-time heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua will earn £100 million from Usyk rematch with Alexander Usyk, a fee similar to his multi-million DAZN contract. The 32-year-old Joshua has also penned a mouth-watering £100 million deal with DAZN to stream his eagerly awaited rematch fight in Jeddah after leaving Sky Sports. Recall that Joshua was stripped of his WBC, WBO, WBF and IBO titles last September as Usyk mauled him at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in a unanimous decision. In entertainment news, Nollywood actress Tonto Dike has emerged as the deputy governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress ADC in the forthcoming 2023 general election in Rivers State. Dike made this known in a post on her Instagram page. She thanked the governorship candidate of the ADC, Tonte Ibrahe, for picking her, adding that she will invest massively in social protection, create a social value system for young people, and increase women's inclusion in government, among others. Still in entertainment, Glasgow Festival has opened with a video message from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. In a pre-taped message, Zelensky asked for support during the ongoing Russian invasion. He told the crowd at the other stage before the Libertines began their set that Ukraine would not let Russia's war stop it. Meanwhile, English singer and one of the 5 members of the Spice Girls, Mel C, has told newsmen that it would be the absolute dream to play on the Glastonbury Sunday afternoon legends slot with the band in the future. Mel C's remark comes a day after she drew a big crowd when she DJ'd at the festival. She said Victoria Beckham could even rejoin the band if they did. Finally, reality TV star and former glamour model Katy Price has avoided jail after admitting breaching a restraining order against her ex-husband Kieran Heller's fiancée. A court heard that Price had sent abusive messages to Heller about his fiancée, Michelle Pentecost, in January. She had been warned that she faced jail after pleading guilty, but the 44-year-old was handed a community order. Price had been banned from contacting Pentecost directly or indirectly under the terms of the order. She was given an 18-month community order to carry out 170 hours of unpaid work, with an additional 20 hours for breach of a suspended sentence for driving matters. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Do enjoy a terrific night rest.